So now alcohol. So yes, the guidelines are the same. So guidelines are same for the healthy population. Now, very, very important is that, as you know, for a diabetic individual, the baseline functioning of glucose metabolism is impaired. All right. So with the efficiency, with how you and I can metabolize glucose, okay, so glucose metabolic cycles, all of your glycolysis, gluconeogenesis, all of those, the efficiency with which you and I can do it, that is not done with the same efficiency in a diabetic individual. Okay, so their baseline glucose metabolism in itself is impaired. Therefore, they have to be more mindful when they are drinking alcohol. So now when you have beer and wine, for example, sweet wine, they contain, yes, carbohydrates, and excessive amount of that will definitely cause hyperglycemia when it is eaten with food and lots of drinks. Yes, this can result in hyperglycemia. And alcohol in itself is an appetite stimulant. Therefore, the individual may be likely to overeat. When you are overeating and plus you are drinking, this can result in hyperglycemia. High blood sugar level definitely is not advisable for any diabetic individual. Now, what is ever so not advisable and what is more scary is hypoglycemia. Okay, so hypoglycemia is much more scarier. Why? Because when you have very low blood sugar level, this can increase your risk of the person going into coma and death as well. Okay, and how we will look into that. But yes, if you have a diabetic individual where their baseline glucose metabolism is impaired, okay, that's why the risk is higher. So when this diabetic individual who is drinking a lot of alcohol but not having food, this can result in hypoglycemia. Okay. So now, what is the metabolic pathway for alcohol in the body? Okay. So ETOH is alcohol basically. All right. So when you have alcohol, ethanol. Okay. So when you have alcohol, how is it broken down into your liver? Alcohol is broken into acetaldehyde. Okay. And the main coenzyme required over here is nicotinamide dinucleotide, NAD. All right. So you have nicotinamide dinucleotide, which is reduced to NADH plus H. All right. So nicotinamide dinucleotide hydrogen. All right. So now, yes, you need to remember these names. Again, this question is asked to me. Yes, nicotinamide dinucleotide is something you need to remember. And nucleotide and nucleotide, it comes from lysine. Lysine is your B3, B complex vitamins. So if you're not confident with your food science, your basic nutrients, please look that up. So this, if you see, is a product of your lysine, B3 vitamin, B complex vitamin. You have B3, lysine. From that comes nicotinamide dinucleotide. All right. So NAD. So ethanol is broken down into acetaldehyde. Now you will learn in the liver lecture that acetaldehyde is a toxic compound. For humans, acetaldehyde can destroy liver cells. Okay, you know how we say don't drink so much alcohol, it is bad for your liver. Why is it bad for your liver? It is bad for your liver because of acetaldehyde. Because acetaldehyde can destroy your liver cells. This is a toxic molecule. Your liver does not like it. Human liver does not like it. Okay. So alcohol broken down into acetaldehyde. Acetaldehyde is broken down into acetate. Again, you require NAD for this, which is reduced to NADH plus H plus. Okay, and acetate is then converted into carbon dioxide and water. Water, which is eliminated as P. And carbon dioxide is what the police checks when you take a random breath test. Okay, so when you have these police officers patrolling and they check you in the car and they ask you to blow into that unit, that is because they'll be checking the acetate level, because acetate, you have it merges with carbon dioxide and it is released. Higher acetate levels, higher reading of acetate, meaning you are in trouble. Okay, so don't drink and drive. See, this unit has so much to teach you. Okay, even social causes like no drinking, driving. All right, so yes, so you have alcohol, acetaldehyde, acetate, carbon dioxide, water. Now, if you see in this entire cycle, alcohol is not giving you ATP. And as I said, ATP is the human form of energy, adenosine triphosphate. Okay, So alcohol does not produce ATP, which is the human form of energy, nor does alcohol at the end product give you glucose over here. It is not that carbon dioxide plus water plus 2 molecules of glucose. No, alcohol is not even giving you glucose. That yes, now you have glucose which can go into gluconeogenesis and then it can go into the TCA and give you energy. No, alcohol will not give you energy. All right. And alcohol will not even give you glucose. So alcohol will not give you energy per se. Alcohol will not give you glucose molecules, which in turn can give you energy. Or else if your blood sugar levels are low, these glucose molecules then can be released into the blood to support blood sugar levels. No. At the end, alcohol, in summary, will not give you energy, will not give you glucose. Okay. And plus, moreover, alcohol is taking the NAD. If you look at the tricarboxylic acid cycle, the TCA cycle, the Krebs cycle, okay, for the body to generate ATP, you need NAD in the TCA cycle. But NAD is not going to the TCA cycle. Why? Because the individual is drinking so much of alcohol that the NAD is devoted for breaking down the alcohol in the body. Okay. So NAD is not going to the TCA. So TCA cannot function independently to give you energy. NAD is devoted to the alcohol metabolism. No NAD, no TCA cycle. NAD going for alcohol metabolism. Does that make sense? Okay. So I hope this is very clear. So yes, what happens? So when you have high alcohol intake and when you have very limited food intake or no food intake, just binge drinking, okay, this can result in hypoglycemia. Of course, this is the same thing which will happen in a healthy individual. But remember, in a diabetic individual, the underlying carbohydrate metabolism is already impaired. So whatever effects you see of hypoglycemia, they are much more faster. They are much more detrimental for a diabetic individual. Okay. So yes, what will happen for any individual, be it a diabetic individual or a healthy individual, we all know that we have some stores of glycogen in the liver. Okay. And they are the size of your fist. Okay. This is roughly what the glycogen stores are there. Okay. So yes, your liver glycogen stores, you will have glycogenolysis. Whenever you have lysis, meaning breakdown. Okay. So glycogen being broken down to glucose. Glycogenolysis. So you have glycogen being converted to glucose. All right. But remember, this is only so much. All right. Limited stores. This happens, then can gluconeogenesis happen? No, it cannot happen. Once your glycogen stores are finished, that is when the person starts going under hypoglycemia. Okay, because you only had so much glucose, you're not eating, so a lot of glucose is taken for energy production. Some glucose also goes into your blood to increase your blood sugar level, but it is not at all practical and feasible. It is not that much. All right, majority of that goes into your energy production cycle. Why? Because you're not eating and a lot of energy is being used, metabolic energy, to break down your alcohol. So yes, now what do? Your glycogen stores are over. You are drinking alcohol. ATP cannot happen. Tricarboxylic acid cycle cannot happen. There is only so much of glycolysis that can happen secondary to the glycogenolysis. So now the only factor is, can gluconeogenesis happen? What is gluconeogenesis? When fat and protein is converted to glucose. This glucose then can then enter the ATP cycle to give you energy because the person is not eating. Okay. Or else to increase your blood sugar level. But this does not happen. Why does it not happen? For the same reason why tricarboxylic acid cycle cannot happen. Because for gluconeogenesis, you need NAD. Okay. So lactate can, in normal conditions, now I'm talking about, lactate is converted to pyruvate. Pyruvate can then enter gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis can then produce glucose. Okay. This glucose can then enter the TCA cycle. This is just a normal healthy individual. All right. TCA cycle give you energy. And this glucose can also be released into the blood to increase your blood sugar level. Therefore, you're not in a hypoglycemic condition. However, this does not happen. Okay, so from glycolysis, you have lactate production, FYI, if you were not aware. All right, so now lactate to pyruvate does not happen because this requires NAD. We know NAD is taken up by alcohol metabolism. Okay, so NAD is not available. So yes, this pathway will not take place. Then you have malate, which can also be converted to oxaloacetate. Oxaloacetate can enter the gluconeogenesis, ideally in a healthy individual. But malate to oxaloacetate also requires NAD. And you know NAD is taken up by the alcohol metabolism. So this pathway also does not happen. Okay. What are pyruvate and oxaloacetate? When we say protein, protein molecules can, protein converted to glucose is called as gluconeogenesis. What protein? Pyruvate, oxaloacetate. Pyruvate, oxaloacetate, they are carbon skeletons. What are carbon skeletons? When you remove the nitrogen group, when you remove the ammonia group from the amino acids, they become carbon skeletons. Okay, if I were to add amino in this, okay, deamination, transamination, as I said, if biochemistry is weak, please look at the biochemistry cycles for carbohydrate, protein, and fat. When I talk about deamination, it is removal of the ammonia group. Transamination, one amino acid being converted to some other amino acid in the body. I'm talking about deamination. Okay, so when you have deamination, what happens? You have the formation of carbon skeletons. So basically, pyruvate, oxaloacetate are type of carbon skeletons. Therefore, they are called as protein type molecules. Okay, so this is how protein ideally can enter gluconeogenesis and then produce glucose. But this does not happen in an individual who is drinking a lot of alcohol because NAD is not available. Okay. So what is happening? You have high lactate in the body, okay, because lactate cannot be converted to pyruvate. Blood levels of lactate increases. This causes lactoacidosis. Lactoacidosis meaning you have high risk of having abdominal cramps, nausea, bloating. We'll talk about the symptoms later, but basically remember, you have lactoacidosis, high lactate in the blood. All right, of course, you still have hypoglycemia because you're not producing any glucose. All right, so I hope this makes sense. Okay, then how can fat support? All right, what is the picture of fat? So ideally what happens is you have odd chain fatty acids. Odd chain fatty acids are generally available in dairy fats. Okay, animal fats have even chain fatty acids. Dairy fats have a lot of odd chain fatty acids. Even chain fatty acids which are there in animal fat, they are bad for you. They have been linked to cardiovascular diseases, heart attack, all of those kind of things. Animal fats, all right? Whereas dairy fats, which has odd chain fatty acids, they have actually shown to promote fat breakdown in the body, beta oxidation in the body. Okay, for instance, and they have shown to increase insulin, the leptin sensitivity. Okay, so not impair leptin resistance. So this is just an FYI research for you, that odd chain fatty acids coming from dairy, they have positive outcome with your heart health. All right. It is the animal chain fatty acids which are bad. So now when I talk about these fatty acids, these are saturated fatty acids. Okay. So you have saturated fats. So these are odd chain saturated fatty acids and even chain saturated fatty acids. But as you can see over here, not all fatty acids are bad. You have odd chain fatty acids, which recent research has shown can be favorable for your heart health. Okay, we'll talk more about fats in the heart lecture, but this is just an FYI. So now coming back to the point, so you have fat which is broken down into propanol CoA into succinyl CoA into malate, and now you know what can happen. Malate can be converted to oxaloacetate, okay? But can malate be converted to oxaloacetate? Unfortunately, no, because we don't have that NAD, okay? So gluconeogenesis cannot take place. So this is how fat is converted, say, into a carbon skeleton at the end, and carbon can support in the production of a carbon skeleton, and carbon skeleton can then enter gluconeogenesis. Isn't the body amazing as to how these all molecules are connected, these fat and protein and carbohydrate molecules? I find it really fascinating. Anyways, it's because I really like biochemistry. All right, so okay, so gluconeogenesis is not happening. All right, so the bottom line is fat cannot support gluconeogenesis, all right, because there is lack of NAD. However, what fat can do is fat can break down itself, all right, and give you energy. All right, so breakdown of fat, as you know, is called as beta oxidation, okay, which is lipolysis, all right, which is lysis meaning breakdown. All right, so yes, fat can break down to give you energy, but it also produces ketone bodies. So this is what I'm talking about. So when you have beta oxidation of fat, it generates acetyl-CoA. Acetyl-CoA can go into the tricarboxylic acid cycle to give you energy. All right, but acetyl-CoA also produces acetoacetate. Okay, now this acetoacetate can then break down and give you three types of ketone bodies, which is acetone, beta hydroxybutyrate, all right, oh, and acetoacetate. I should have colored this, my bad, guys. Okay, so acetoacetate, acetone, and beta hydroxybutyrate are three types of ketone bodies. Okay, now these ketone bodies, when they are of a higher level in the blood, this then causes ketoacidosis. Another FYI fact which you may want to remember, guys, is that first, anything which is excess in the blood is the last point. Anything which is excess will first saturate your urine, all right? So you will have high, for example, high sugar level in your urine, and then the second indicator will be high blood sugar levels, okay? So any sort of saturation first happens in your urine because the body consciously tries to throw those excessive products out. So when you have high production of your ketone bodies, which is acetoacetate, acetone, and beta hydroxybutyrate, these first saturate the urine, the body tries to throw them out, so you have high ketone bodies in the urine, and then followed after a couple of hours or even after a couple of just minutes, once the urine is saturated, there is no more that the body can throw out, then your blood starts filling up with those compounds, okay? Therefore, you have high ketone bodies in your blood, which is called as ketoacidosis, all right? So yes, at the end, oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why the screen sharing stopped. Now I'm the one who's occupying the screen. So just bear with me. I'll just share the PowerPoint again. So I'm sharing the lecture PowerPoint slide. All right. So I hope you can see the slide. I'll just reconfirm. Yes, you can see the slide because it's unfortunate, right? Like you don't want to see me occupying the entire screen. It's important for you to see these lecture slides. Okay, all right. So yes, in summary, what happens? In summary, you have lactoacidosis. Why? Because lactate cannot be converted to glucose via gluconeogenesis because of limited NAD. So you have lactoacidosis in the body. Second, fat is broken down to produce ATP. Okay, so yes, that is happening at this side. But remember, dealing with fat is like having a deal with the Satan. Okay, so it is like making a deal with the devil. So fat will give you energy, but fat will also give you ketone bodies. And when you have high amount of ketone bodies, this results in ketoacidosis. So you have lactoacidosis, you have ketoacidosis, all right? Lactoacidosis, ketoacidosis symptoms are the follows: nausea, vomiting, cramps, headache, tachycardia, irregular heartbeat, which is what it means, shortness of breath, coma, and death. Okay, so yes, this can lead to all of that. So hypoglycemia is much more dangerous, as I said, because this can lead to coma and death, secondary to lactoacidosis, ketoacidosis. But why exactly is lactoacidosis, ketoacidosis happening as part of hypoglycemia? Now you know the exact mechanism. So guys, this is what is very important. This unit is the foundation for clinical sciences, especially if you have to do anything with diet and nutrition. All right. So once you understand the underlying mechanisms which are going on in the body, Then when you learn how to treat a patient in terms of medical nutritional therapy, which is what we dietitians do, it all makes a lot of sense. Otherwise, if somebody just says, yeah, the patient is experiencing ketoacidosis, you will just not get the connection as to why is the patient experiences ketoacidosis. Why does diabetes, hypoglycemia cause ketoacidosis? That's why understanding these mechanisms are so very much important, because this can help you to convince your patients as to why is it that they are seeing these symptoms. They may be complaining of a lot of cramps and headaches and things, okay, because of, say, their excessive drinking issues, and you see that blood levels are high in ketone bodies. You can show them this entire connection, that these symptoms that they are experiencing, they are not just independent by itself. These symptoms are a outcome of a lot of things which are already undergone in this body, which is your lactoacidosis, ketoacidosis, so on and so forth. Therefore, it is so important to understand these underlying foundations, these underlying sciences, before you start learning how to treat a patient, which